Hello, Laziali all over the world. Welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Plenty of things to talk about. Lazio-Torino, the race for the fifth position, and much more. Milinkovic-Savic, what is going to be this future, and a lot of other things. Luckily for me, Alison McKenzie is not here. I have a better guest, and we have Carsten Krog. Hope I pronounced it right. Carsten, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, very good to see you, Vittorio.
Plenty of things to talk about because before Easter, Lazio played against Torino. We said in the past podcast that the next two matches, Lazio-Torino and Lazio-Milan, would probably be the decisive for the race for the Europa League for Lazio. Well, things didn't go very well, I would say, because Lazio drew against Torino, and we did at the last second. Carsten, just to start, what was your impression of Lazio performance on Saturday?
It was very disappointing, just to be completely honest. I think Lazio have been really, really great against mid-table teams and bottom teams after Christmas. Lazio, we have been very stable, just beating them fairly easily every time. We've been really, really bad against the big teams. That's a completely different discussion. But the lower and mid-table teams, we've been very, very consistent. So even though Torino, I think Jurić's Torino is a really good team. Jurić is a great coach. I was disappointed that we couldn't just simply beat them at home. And the thing is, I think even Torino deserved to win the match.
Yeah, I thought till the last 10, 15 minutes, Torino was playing much better. Lazio didn't create pretty much anything against Torino. And Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto was struggling massively for the first 70 minutes of that match. Torino scored. Felipe Anderson saved it on the line. They hit the post. Strakosha made a couple of saves. And on the other side, I think Berisha, former Lazio goalkeeper, didn't do pretty much anything till the last 10 minutes of the match. That was really concerning, Carsten, because you could expect Torino to put a fight, but in the last 10 matches of Serie A, Torino won just one match. So, you wouldn't expecting to see a Torino playing so well. So that's disappointing because I think they played well, but on the other side, Lazio played terrible.
Yes, I completely agree. I think Lazio was very passive. They lost basically all the duels. I don't think they just looked like a team who had nothing to play for, and Lazio has plenty to play for.
Yeah.
Torino has nothing to play for, and you certainly couldn't see that at all. I think this was a big blow to Lazio's chances for. I think top four is definitely gone now. Top five, maybe we can still make it and surpass Roma. That depends. Atalanta lost yesterday, so that's good news for Lazio. I think we'll probably end up number 6 or 7, and Roma will take the 5th spot, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have to talk about this because it was funny because going into the game, the Italian TV said, well, with the Juventus drawing, then Lazio has a chance for the 4th spot. And I mean, the players weren't focused at all, and they didn't concentrate on that. I knew Napoli was struggling, so I wasn't that much surprised of seeing Roma getting a point out of the Maradona Stadium yesterday. I was completely astonishing to see Atalanta losing like that against Verona. Do you think Fiorentina could be the surprise there? Because, well, they have a game on hand. They are above Lazio now. They have a tough fixture than Roma and Lazio, but they're playing probably better than Roma and Lazio. So do you think they could reach the 5th spot?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, I think they're very consistent, and usually when you watch Fiorentina, you and I, we have watched Italian football for many, many years, and the last 10 years, Fiorentina have been one of those teams. They play excellent at times, and then suddenly they lose to a nobody team, Salernitana or something like that, and they go on a losing streak that takes forever to turn around. But we must admit that Vincenzo Italiano has done a great job at Fiorentina, and he's even sold his top scorer. So when they sold Vlahovic, I think a lot of people thought that this is the end of it. This is the end of Fiorentina for this season, but they've just kept on going. The only team that can beat them, every single time, completely surely, is Lazio.
Yeah, it's true because obviously I saw both matches, and even at home where we won 1-0, Vlahovic didn't create a single chance, and I went back home and said, "Wow, if this is Fiorentina, they are a very average team." Same thing away, we won 3-0 if I'm not wrong. It's true that Vlahovic wasn't there; they had Cabral starting, but it was absolutely dominated by Lazio.
Yeah.
Sarri said that Lazio struggle against big physical teams. Torino, big players in the midfield, and Luis Alberto pretty much vanished against Torino. Do you agree with Maurizio Sarri? Do you think this is a problem?
I think, we know Luis Alberto is kind of a frail genius, I would call him. He's when he's playing well, he's amazing. I also think he disappears 30 minutes at a time, sometimes an entire match. I think Luis Alberto is perfect for Lazio. I'm not sure he would be great at any other club. When he was in Liverpool, he played 5 matches, and they basically told him that he wasn't good enough. I think he's perfect for Lazio. I think we're going to have to simply settle with the fact that he's not world class every time. When he is really good, he's completely over. He's amazing, but he will disappear. And I think that if you play him a little bit hard physically, I think he has problems sometimes. Yes, definitely.
One thing that I think about Luis Alberto is in those situations like Saturday, where he has to pass and move the ball faster, he struggles. He needs to touch the ball 2-3 times, and not in every situation you are able to do it. Premier League, they are very fast league. You don't have time. You have to pass the ball immediately. You have to know already where to give the ball. And against Torino, you saw him that he wasn't able to do nothing. He really struggled. So I think that's the biggest concern with him. And I don't know if you agree with me, but when Basic came in, who obviously hasn't got the ball skill of Luis Alberto, Lazio stepped up. Lazio played much better. He's physical. He's faster. I think that is one of the reasons why Lazio was able to get at least 1 point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Basic is another. He's an option when Luis Alberto is not functioning well. So if he has a really bad match, take him out after 1 hour, Luis Alberto, and put Basic in. He's much more of a physical player, and Lazio change as a team when he's on the pitch. And I think he's a good football player too. He doesn't have the vision of Luis Alberto, no, but who does? He's an extraordinary player. I think I would have to say too, Vittorio, that I think the most concerning thing is that if you look at the numbers, the XG numbers, Lazio created 0.78 at home against a team that's in the middle of the Serie A. That's just not good enough. It's really not good enough.
No, definitely. And as I said at the beginning, I thought Lazio create like 3 shots on target, maybe. The goal, the one save from Berisha, and that was pretty much it. At home against Torino, a must-win match, right? Lazio had to win, because the thing is, if Lazio would have won against Torino and against Milan, you could expect that Roma against Inter away next week could lose, and you could be up again in the 5th position. So this was a much-needed win, and I think only 2 players played really hard for 95 minutes. Milinkovic-Savic and Ciro Immobile. The other tried, but they weren't that much convinced. Did you have the same impression?
Yes, I completely agree. I think Lazio, when it all comes down, we have 2 world-class players basically, and we both know who they are, and they're always almost always really good. We have a few other players who, on their day, can be European top class, like Luis Alberto, I think. But the rest of the team, I'm sorry to say, I just don't think it's not a top team. It's a sub top team at best. I'm really sorry to say that. I love Lazio, but as it is right now, there's a bunch of teams that are from number 5 to number 9, basically. And I think Lazio is just one of those teams. We don't belong higher up than that. We just don't.
And this lead me to an important question. I mean, we mentioned Ciro Immobile and Sergej Milinkovic-Savic are those two stars the team has. Milinkovic-Savic has been linked to Manchester United, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid. If you are Claudio Lotito and Manchester United comes to you and say, hey, 80 million euros for Milinkovic-Savic, would you agree, or Milinkovic-Savic cannot be sold, otherwise Lazio will collapse?
I think the way that Iglitare has spent Lazio's money the last couple of years, I don't think we should sell him at all, because Iglitare is just basically throwing money out at the moment. But I mean, it's a lot of money. 80 million euros is a lot of money, and Milinkovic-Savic he's not a kid anymore. He's not 20 anymore. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a numbers guy, but it would be terrible to see him in another shirt than Lazio's. It certainly would. And Lazio would. There's just so much in Milinkovic-Savic that we can't get from any other players at all, and we won't be able to buy anyone of that level at all again. I think Lazio was very lucky to get Milinkovic-Savic when he was young and fairly cheap, and they were also very lucky to get Ciro Immobile at a time when his stocks were low. He had a terrible time in Germany and in Spain, and then he came to Italy and he's completely torn up Serie A, because when you look at Ciro Immobile, he's now scored 180 goals in Serie A.
Yeah.
He scores more than 20 goals every season, and he plays for a team that's not even in top four. He plays for a team that always finishes between 5 and 8. And he's still the top scorer every year almost. It's an amazing. It's just an amazing. I don't understand. I mean, if he played for something like Juventus for 5, 6, 7 years, then you would understand the numbers, because they win all the time. They have great players around him. But Lazio is not a top team. So I don't think he gets enough credit. But in general, Lazio is ignored by the sports journalists in the north and everything. They don't really care about Lazio. To a certain extent, I understand them, because Lazio is not a big team. It's a big team for us, and it's a half big team in Rome. But I think that Ciro Immobile's accomplishments are basically ignored, and I think that's just a shame.
And the other thing, Carsten, is that he improves year after year. He scored with a header on Saturday, and it's not the first time. Left foot, right foot, penalties, inside the box, outside the box. I mean, he's improving every single year, scoring in different ways. It's not like you say, okay, Ciro Immobile scores always the same way. No, he doesn't. And this is something that it's not easy, because improving everything is not a very easy task to do.
I completely agree. And whenever I bring up this topic with other people who follow Italian football, they say, well, he hasn't done well on the Italian national team. But the Italian national team is built for the wingers. It's built for the wingers to go inside the pitch and score, and maybe for the midfielders to score. All Ciro Immobile is doing, he's basically holding up 2-3 defenders. That's all he's doing. There's nobody around him. It's such a difficult task to score as a number 9 for the Azzurri. And I think people ignore that. And another thing about Ciro Immobile is that the way that he plays, I agree with you that he's getting better every single year. He certainly is. And that's something that's kind of been ignored as well. People also say that he was a failure when he was at Dortmund and when he was at Sevilla. When he went to Dortmund, Dortmund went to pieces. That season, I wrote a book about Liverpool, and one of the chapters is a 50-page chapter on Jürgen Klopp. And Jürgen Klopp was leaving Dortmund the same season that Ciro Immobile came. So after 4 seasons in the Bundesliga, when Dortmund finished top 2, they won 2 German championships, and then they finished number 2 twice in a row. Then they sold Lewandowski to Bayern Munich, who's their main rival, of course, and they got in Ciro Immobile. The club went completely to pieces. Jürgen Klopp resigned 3 months into the season. He resigned that season. They finished number 7. At one point, they were in relegation mode. And that's the season that he was in. And he still scored 10 goals in that season. So
Yeah,
it's impossible to say that he hasn't delivered in Europe. He's never had the chance in Europe.
no, I totally agree on you. And the narrative of Ciro Immobile is simply embarrassing. I mean, he's such a great talent. And again, Marco Parolo said it before the match against Torino. He said, it's not Ciro, you have the best striker in the national team. You should adapt to that player, not he should adapt to the Azzurri. We should try this. And Mancini never did. Give it a go, play as Ciro Immobile best, and see how things go. I think he will strive like he always does. Because if you remember, last summer, people were saying, Ciro Immobile is perfect for the 3-5-2. He's terrible for the 4-3-3. Now Lazio is playing 4-3-3. He's still top scorer in Serie A. He did it with Pescara. He was top scorer with Torino a couple of years ago. I mean, people tend to forget this. And and it's funny because Lazio fan, and I don't know if you have the same impression, when Ciro doesn't score for a match, we go, oh my, Ciro's finished. He didn't score. It's normal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely normal, right?
Yeah,
Cristiano Ronaldo
of
doesn't
course.
score for a couple of weeks, and he's still the best. Ciro Immobile doesn't score one day, and he's done. He's finished.
Yeah, I mean his standards are so incredibly high nowadays that if he doesn't score a hat trick, we think he's had a bad match. That's basically no. But one last thing about Ciro Immobile, Vittorio, is that I'm really proud of having a player like that on my team because he never says a bad thing about the Azzurri. He never says, at the Azzurri everything is designed for the other players, and I'm basically there to hold defenders up. I mean, anyone can see that. But he never says anything about it. He never goes out and says, well, maybe if Mancini would change the tactics and let it be more about me scoring goals, maybe I would have a better chance of scoring. He could easily say that, and he never says that. He's such a humble character, and he's just an amazing character. I'm sure I've never met him, but I'm sure he's a really humble, good guy,
Yeah, no, I agree. And he fights. He's one of the few players that fights till the end, even if the match is over. He never gives up. So that's another important thing. So going back to Milinkovic Savic, yes, it's tough. 80 million euros. You can, if you have a good sport director, which I'm not sure Lazio has, you can really rebuild your team and have a lot of quality players, youngster maybe younger than Milinkovic Savic coming up. So you could even maybe resell it in a couple of years at a higher price. So it's very difficult because Milinkovic Savic, I think he's, if not the best player in Serie A, one of the best. So giving up him, it's tough, but you can rebuild your team. So it's...
Yes, I mean, I completely agree. You can rebuild your team if you get 80 or maybe 90 million euros for him, which I'm not sure we can get because I think he's a little bit too old for that kind of money. I mean, he's certainly good enough. The problem is that there's not a lot of resale value because he's fairly old now. But the thing about it is, I would need to see a plan from Lazio for the rebuilding, because if they just buy right and left, whoever just kind of pops into their minds, then we're in trouble. Then the 80 million euros can go out the window like no time at all. I mean, if you look at Barcelona, they basically went bankrupt. They spent 2 billion euros in no time. On nobodies, I mean, they bought Coutinho from Liverpool and they never played him, and they paid 1.2. Well, they paid 120 million pounds for Coutinho, and they never played him. So as long as you're paying 12 million for Vavro and you're never using the guy, you're paying 24 million euros for what's his name, the terrible guy from Turkey. The striker, Murici. Yeah. I mean, they just didn't work at all, and that's right there. That's 35 million euros just thrown into nothing at all, and that's half a Milinkovic Savic. So you see where I'm going. If we don't have any plans, there's just no reason to. I would hope that we can hold on to Milinkovic Savic, maybe for the entire career. I think he loves it in Rome. He's never said anything about going away.
No. You mentioned Vavro. He's playing with Copenhagen.
Sure.
How are things going? Because I saw his Instagram post and he's quite happy there. Is he playing as his top level? How are Vavro's performance there?
I mean, there's almost no words for it. He's completely transformed the Copenhagen team. So FC Copenhagen is the biggest club in Denmark, but they haven't won the national championship in a couple of years, and they only won one championship in 4 years. And when you look at their budget, they're like the Juventus of Denmark, even bigger actually, because they have a much bigger budget than anybody else. FC Copenhagen should be winning 7 out of 10 national team championships. And when you look at that, they've been quite a disaster the last 5 or 6 years. But they've just turned things around after New Year's Eve. They got Vavro to the club, and Vavro is I think he's the number one guy for the coach now. He plays every single minute. He's even scored an incredible goal, a free kick goal. He wins every single corner that's basically crossed. He's big and strong. He's really fast. He's very good for morale. The fans love him. I mean, they have no choice but to try and keep him this summer, which is a good opportunity for Lazio to get some money in, because I don't think that they want to bring Vavro back, but they might be able to get some of the money back that they spend on Vavro.
Yeah, don't think Lazio wants Vavro back. And at the same time, I don't think Vavro wants to come back. He mentioned it already a couple of times, right? He's fine at Copenhagen. He's happy there. And he doesn't... It's funny though, Carsten, because he said that. And the week after, I thought it was the international break, he was in Rome. So, he's enjoying the city, but not the club, probably. How can this thing work out? Because I think Copenhagen has a buyout option of 8 million euros. Maybe it's a little bit too much for the club. Do you think, how can Copenhagen keep Vavro next summer?
Well, Copenhagen has a lot of money when you compare them to other Danish clubs. But they don't have a lot of money compared to Italian clubs, obviously. I think 8.7 million euros is way too much. I don't think they're not going to pay that. I think there might be a negotiation situation, and I think that, I mean, I don't know, but my estimate would be that Copenhagen would pay maybe 4, maybe 5 million euros for him, and that's about it. I think that's as far as they will go. He'll basically be the most expensive player a Danish club has ever bought if they pay 5 million euros for him. Another problem is the wages, because I know that in Rome, in Lazio, he makes about 1.5 million euros a year. In Denmark, that's a lot of money. I think that, and I don't think he's not going to back down on that. Because it's very obvious he's one of the best players for Copenhagen. He might be the most important player for them already. So I think he's going to say, I want the same pay or something very close to that. So we're talking at least 1.2 million a year from Copenhagen. And if they want to buy him and maybe give him a 4-year contract, then that would be, all in all, that would be maybe 8, 9, maybe even 10 million euros all in all for Vavro. And that's a lot of money for a Danish club. So I don't know what's going to happen. Lazio have some really good cards on their hands here, but Copenhagen also knows that Lazio they won't use Vavro anyway, which is weird because, I mean, Vavro is playing just as well as he did when Lazio bought him now, and he's an amazing defender. He's really quick. He wins just about every duel there is. He's got amazing spirit. He wins everything in the air. I mean, look at the game against Torino. We could have used somebody who's strong in the air against Torino. I mean, we were bullied in that match. The goal that Torino scored, they were just much stronger than the Lazio players.
And it's funny because Sarri in the post-match press conference said, well, they scored and they were in the middle of a 2 central defender. So Acerbi and Luis Felipe, I think he was in, both missed the ball. So, it was a header. Maybe Vavro could have helped there. I don't understand, Carsten, help me to understand why Vavro didn't work out in Italy, and pretty much he didn't have a chance, to be honest with you. Why? What's going on? And how he came back to his form immediately, because how often do we hear, well, that player didn't play for 6 months, he's out of shape. It looks to me that as soon as Vavro was there, he immediately played top level for his football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand that either. I think I saw all the games when he played for Simone Inzaghi. He played maybe 5, 6, 7 games. I think he did well. I don't think he did anything bad in either of those games. Maybe Simone Inzaghi wanted a three-man defense, and what they play in Copenhagen always is a four-man defense. And maybe Simone Inzaghi, he knows more about football than I do, so maybe he saw something that he didn't like. But whenever I saw him play, he never made a big mistake or anything like that. He just wasn't. He was just on the bench next weekend, and I don't know if he ever got an explanation. I would love to talk to him about that. Maybe I can get an interview with him at some point and then ask him. I mean, he lives here in Copenhagen now, where I live, and usually the Copenhagen players are pretty easy to get to talk to. They're very media friendly. So maybe I can go and talk to him and ask him, what happened in Lazio? Why didn't you play? If he wants to talk about it, I don't know if he wants to, but if he wants to, that will be, I'll definitely come back to you and tell you what he thinks.
Yeah, because my impression is that maybe Glitari went to Sarri and said, hey, don't play this player because we're trying to sell him. If he get injured, then we are stuck with him. Could that be an option? Because Sarri is playing with a four-man defense, and even if we struggle because he had a lot of injured player, he preferred to switch Patrick, central defender, than give a chance to Vavro. So do you think that could be an option? That could be the reason why he didn't play at all?
I mean, possibly. I don't know. I think that if they wanted to take Vavro back, they would have to give him a few games. They can't give him 1 or 2 games and then settle and then make the decision. They have to say, all right, this is the guy we're going for. We're going to give him 10, 12, 15 games. I mean, you and I remember how awful Patrick was the first 20 games he played for Lazio. I mean, and now he's basically our best defender. I mean, sometimes it just takes a little time because before somebody settles in. And I think Lazio has a very special way of playing. And I think it takes a little while unless you're a huge talent,
And he's also young. Dennis Vavro is 23, I think.
25, I think.
So, he still have a lot of time to improve, etc. So, I don't know.
Sure.
I'm happy for him, honestly, because now he's back playing. He looks happy. And hopefully Lazio and Copenhagen find a way to find a deal, an agreement that satisfies Lazio, because obviously we mentioned Milinkovic Savic. If Lazio doesn't sell Milinkovic Savic, they have to get the money back from somewhere. Vavro look like the best player that Lazio sent on loan. The only one that is not only playing, he's playing well. Because on the other side, Carsten, I don't know if you saw it, Murici started well, but we are half of April and he scored only twice and both on penalties. So I'm not sure that Mallorca would keep him. So, Lazio was hoping to sell those players this summer and get the money to do the transfer market.
I mean, to be honest, Vittorio, I think Murici was a huge mistake. I just don't think he has the level to play in the Italian league. I don't think he has the level to play in the Spanish league either. I think he can play in Turkey and maybe in Denmark. I really think that's his level. I think it was a huge mistake. I don't think Vavro was a mistake. It was only half the money. I think he has the abilities to play in a top league. I don't think it happened in Lazio. I don't know why. But I mean, you look at it, Copenhagen is not much lower than Lazio if you look at the European club rankings. Copenhagen is inside the top 100. I think Lazio is number 40 or something like that. Copenhagen is a big team. They might play Champions League next year. And he's the number 1 guy in Copenhagen. So that is really weird. But Murici, I don't share anybody's enthusiasm. I think I saw the first 3 games with him and I thought that has to be a mistake. There has to be a weird reason why we bought that guy. He's not good enough for Lazio. He's not even good enough for Salernitana. We can never get anything out of him. Maybe a Turkish club will pay 10 million euros for him because he obviously worked out in Turkey. So, if we can get 10 million euros for him, sell right away, just sell, in my opinion.
Yeah. Another player that is on loan, he's in Netherlands, is Riza Durmisi, that has a link with Denmark, right? Sure. I thought he could be a little bit better than he played with Lazio. I think he's a left back that is quite skilled. He had a lot of injuries. That's the biggest issue he had at Lazio. Do you think after playing with Rotterdam, I think he's playing quite well. He's starting a lot of match. Do you think he's going to have a market and any chance he can go back to Denmark? Do you think it's possible?
Yes. Oh yeah, there's certainly a chance for him to go back to Brøndby, which is the other big Copenhagen team. The problem with Brøndby is that they have no money. They don't spend any money. They basically have a strategy that is all around getting really really young players and sell them as soon as they can, basically. And Risa Dumisi will be fairly expensive for them anyway. Even his wages are probably way too high as it is. So I think he might go back to Brøndby, but I think he'll probably go back when his contract is over. So Lazio will not get any money out of that. The problem with Risa Dumisi, who's actually a Dane who played for the Danish national team, is that he's a great attacking left wing player, left back player, but he's not a very good defender. He basically can't defend. That's the reason why he lost his place on the Danish national team, and I think that's the reason why Inzaghi couldn't use him. He just wasn't. His defending just wasn't good enough. And I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's great in the Dutch league in Holland, because the Dutch league is a very offensively minded league.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about offense. And he's a good dribbler. He's a good crosser of the ball. He's great with the ball on his feet, but he's more like Sakani. I think Sakani is great. I think he's much better than Dumisi, but he's more like Sakani than he's like Radu, if you know what I mean.
Yep. So he could play better as a winger rather than a left back.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because he can't defend.
Before we wrap it up, is there a player in the Danish league that you would recommend to Lazio to sign next summer?
Well, that depends. What are you looking for?
I don't know. I mean, we are looking for Lazio needs central defender, midfielder, striker, wingers, goalkeeper. We need everything, Carsten. Everything.
Yeah. I really, really hope that Lazio will extend the contract with Strakosha. He's one of our own. He came from the Lazio Academy. I have no idea why Pepe Reina suddenly played instead of him. I think it completely crushed his self-belief. And for a while, when he came back, he wasn't the same player. When he was 23, 24, he was one of the biggest goalkeeping talents in Europe, the way I saw it. I remember Premier League clubs were talking about buying him for 100 million euros and stuff. And then suddenly he didn't play for 2 years, and we let a man who was 38 play instead of him, who wasn't even better than him. It's just the most stupid decision, Vittorio. I have no words for how stupid that was. And now he's back doing really well. But does he really want to extend the contract with Lazio? I really hope he does. But there's a really good goalkeeper. There's a couple of really good goalkeepers in Denmark. Brøndby has a young, really good goalkeeper who will probably be the next Michael.
Wow.
And Midtjylland has a really good goalkeeper as well. He's from Iceland, but he plays in FC Midtjylland. They could maybe be an option. Central defenders, I think the best central defender in the Danish league is Dennis Vavro. Have you heard of him?
A little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem. I would say the central defenders in Denmark, the best of them are fairly old, and I don't think Lazio would want to buy a player who's 38 or 30. No. I think the 5 best central defenders in Denmark are about that age, so that would be a problem. I don't know about midfielders. There's a Brazilian guy in FC Midtjylland called Evander, who's a little bit like Luis Felipe, maybe. So Luis Alberto, sorry. A little bit like Luis Alberto, but much younger, only 23, 24. He could be worth a try, but he won't be cheap. He'll probably be 10 million euros. So I don't know.
Difficult.
But I'll certainly call Iglitare on my private phone if I find a good player.
I think he needs a hand because the last transfer market wasn't very good. So if we can help Iglitare anyway, then you're most welcome to do it, because we need to sign a lot of players next year, and the situation is not very good. To wrap it up, the future of Lazio, are you optimistic because of Sarri or pessimistic because we are losing a lot of players and Iglitare in the last transfer market hasn't been great?
I mean, you know what, Vittorio, I'm basically at the level where I'm saying I will put all my chips on Maurizio Sarri. I think that we should extend our contract with Sarri right away. I think he might be the only guy in Lazio who really knows what he's doing. Uh, and I think we should extend our contract with Sarri and let him pick the players. Of course, talk to him about it and negotiate. But talk to Sarri and say what 10 players do you really want, and then try to pick out at least 3 or 4 of the players, because I think Sarri knows what we need.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Iglitaro does. I'm completely sure Lotito has no idea. So I think we need to. What I would do, I think it's amazing that we have a good coach like Sarri, and I think we should do everything we can to keep him happy, to keep him satisfied, and then hope that he can be the future of Lazio, because I think he's the right guy.
Yep, I totally agree with you. Give more power to Maurizio Sarri and see what goes. Carsten, thank you very much for joining me. It's, as always, a pleasure. You can follow Carsten on Twitter at Carsten Krog with the H14. So follow him. He tweets in Danish, which I don't understand, unfortunately, but also on English, so you can follow him here. And he's most welcome when he wants to join our podcast. We are always here for him. And guys, if you didn't subscribe to our podcast, you can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and we're live also on Twitch. Carsten, thanks again for joining us, and hope to have you back maybe June, where maybe we're going to have more news about Dennis Vavra. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. That would be nice. Vittorio, please do me a favor and say hi to Alistair for me. I hope that he's doing better after his COVID.
He went on holiday. I mean, he's always on holiday. So yeah, he's probably much better than you and me at the moment.
What a great life, huh?
Yeah. I mean, if I will ever reborn, I want to be Alistair McKenzie. Thank you very much, Carsten. Bye, everybody.